When a family member gets detained by immigration, the first thought is how to get them out. I'm going to explain how to get your family member a bond, post it, and have them released from immigration detention. When an immigrant is placed in removal proceedings, ICE will often detain the immigrant at the outset of the case. In Virginia, most detained immigrants are held at the Farmville Detention Center in Central Virginia. In many cases, the immigrant can be released from custody either through a parole determination by the ICE officer or by requesting a bond from the immigration court. When an immigrant is first put into removal proceedings, an officer from ICE will be assigned to their case. The officer can decide to release the immigrant on parole, but in order to do so, they're going to need some very specific information, such as where the immigrant intends to live and who's going to take financial responsibility for the immigrant if he is released. Since the Trump administration took over, parole is not typically granted. It's reserved for cases where there are serious humanitarian concerns, such as medical problems, or if the immigrant is the only caretaker for a child. If the officer does not grant parole, the immigrant can still file for a bond through the immigration court. There is one immigration court serving all of Virginia and Washington, D.C., and that immigration court is in Arlington, Virginia. The immigration court moves very slowly. Unlike a criminal case, you cannot file for bond and expect it to be heard the next day. Hearing, which often takes from 3 to 6 weeks. The court has two primary concerns: danger to the community and the risk of flight. Judge that the immigrant is not a danger to the community and is not a flight risk. To that end, you should plan to collect and submit documentation to show that the immigrant has strong ties to the community and to rehabilitate any past acts that would indicate that the immigrant is a danger to the community. You should also plan to address the relief that the immigrant is seeking from deportation, such as asylum, cancellation of removal, or adjustment of status through a family member. To prove that the immigrant is not a flight risk, some helpful documents are letters from friends or family, other members of the community such as church groups, or from the immigrant's employer to show that he's going to have stable work if he is released. You should try to show how long the immigrant has lived in the community through housing, employment, and school records. Proof that the immigrant has U.S. citizen or permanent resident family members is also helpful. If the immigrant has any prior convictions, you should plan to address them. For example, if the immigrant had a prior DUI conviction, you would want to show that he's completed alcohol education classes. You need to collect and submit all this documentation prior to the bond hearing in immigration court. The immigration judge will look through the documentation and hear argument, and then decide whether to give the immigrant a bond. If the judge does give the immigrant a bond, they'll also decide the amount. Typically, a bond will be from $5,000 to $10,000, although the minimum amount an immigration judge can set is $1,500. Once a bond is set, you need to post the bond to have the immigrant released. In order to post the bond, a person must be lawfully present in the United States and be able to show a valid government ID. You can post the bond either at the ICE office in Fairfax or in Richmond. You can find more information about the logistics of posting bond on our website or at the ICE website here. Once you post the bond, the immigrant will be released, but remember, he's still in removal proceedings. It is vitally important that the immigrant keep the court updated with his current address. If you're unsure of your next court date, you can call the EOIR hotline and follow the prompts to get your next scheduled hearing. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you have any other questions, always feel free to reach out to one of our attorneys at Henson, Pachuta, and Cameraman. You can reach us through our website or by calling us at 703-822-4701.